Welcome. I'm sitting here with Overseer Elbert Jones at the Church of the Living God, aka the High Place, the High Place. And I'm still with my guy, man, and we want to have an opportunity to meet and talk tonight, because I want to introduce people to not just Overseer Jones. We want to introduce them to Elbert Jones and get an opportunity for them to know you as the man behind the ministry, the person outside of the pulpit. But first and foremost, I mean, this is what you do, man. This is what you do. This is who you are. It's a large part of your dynamic and the personality of who you are. So certainly we'll touch some pastoral pieces, but we definitely going to touch some personal pieces. So just first off, man, how long have you been here at the High Place?
I've been here. I'll be 3 years in July, and came here after my father retired after 22 years here.
Okay. Your dad was here for 22 years and handed the mantle over to his son.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. At the High Place. Was it called the High Place when he was here? Or?
No. He wouldn't like the High Place now.
He wouldn't like the High Place?
No, he wouldn't like the name the High Place now. No.
How did y'all get the High Place?
No.
And how was that different from what Dad?
The High Place just came along from our flavor of worship. Okay. We are a high energetic, charismatic worship facility. We go in it from start to finish. Okay. And it just out of the conversation one day, me and one of my members were talking, Sonny Blake, and she said, Pastor, it's the High Place. And all of a sudden, everybody just started saying the High Place.
The High Place took off.
Yeah, the High Place took off, and so when my daddy, because my daddy is our presiding bishop now over our whole organization, 300 plus churches nationwide, and so it'll never be called the High Place when he bitches it.
How is it different from your daddy's tenure? In that the High Place.
Oh, it was the High Place then. Under Daddy, they tagged themselves Holy Ghost Headquarters.
Okay.
And so in bringing in a new generation and a new era, the High Place just took off. Daddy, they were still buck wild for Jesus on Sundays with Daddy and everything else. They were Holy Ghost Headquarters, and so. For the rest of his life, it'll be the Church of the Living God Holy Ghost Headquarters to him.
Well, the Holy Ghost Headquarters back then was the hot name.
Yeah.
The Holy Ghost. That lets me know what era he's in.
Right. Yeah.
The Holy Ghost Headquarters. Like, you don't say that no more.
No, and so as far as the style of worship, there's been no, there's no visible change because they were. My background is holiness, and so. They went at it like crazy folk did too. So yeah.
Okay. I know you've been. I did a little homework on you, man.
Watch out now. Watch out.
Not too much. I ain't pull your credit report or nothing.
Thank you.
But well, not that you know about. So you've been in ministry since you were 5 years old.
5 years old. Man.
Oh my God, man! You gotta tell me about that.
5 years old. I often say I'm not like a lot of preachers that were on the assembly line, on the train track, and the Lord spoke and said, "Go preach my word." They were married with families, right. and one day they're picking up a box, and the next day they're in the pulpit. At 5 years old, I was called to ministry. I had a dream and knew very little about the biblical dialogue of the Lord and his resurrection story as it relates to Scripture. But in the dream, the Lord takes me to his tomb and says to me that I left the napkin here folded because there's still work for me to do. And he hands me the napkin and says to me, I'm commissioning you to go work for me. And man, I woke up 5 years old. Wow. And I tell my dad, I said, I had a dream that the Lord showed me the napkin where that he left folded in the tomb. And immediately my dad knew that I had absolutely had a conversation with God, because at 5 years old, most folk have called it a tile or something else, but to say what the scripture said, that there was at 5 years old. And so I preached my first sermon, man, on a few months later on Easter Sunday morning. Wow. In 1980, April the 12th, 1980. And Dad had built me a little step up so I could be seen. And my sermon lasted maybe 30 seconds. I got up and I read my scripture, and I said, he got up. And I turned around and I told Dad, I said, that's all. And that was my first sermon. Wow. And that was it. 37 years. I celebrated 37 years last Thursday. Wow. 37 years.
At 5
years old. Yeah.
Wow.
And so this is what I've always knew God called me to do. And I've tried to get away from it sometime. I can't lie about that, because it hasn't been easy. And I understand David, when David said, many times have I been despised because of my youth. And I've tried to leave it. I've tried to do other stuff, and the Lord keeps pulling me back in.
What were some of the most difficult challenges you've had as a, not just, some guys get called as a teenage preacher, or maybe even a young adult, but you were a child preacher. What were some of the difficult that you've had?
Being a child. Being a child, and my life was totally different, because it was in me. People knew I was a preacher. And so if I made the simplest of mistakes, I was bashed. Right. I couldn't even move from one chair to the other without being criticized.
You're a preacher, you're a man, you're supposed to know better.
Supposed to know better. If I drunk Coke when they wanted me to drink Pepsi, it was, and so there was always that cloud over my head, since then, and it's been rough. Yeah, it's a lot better now, because I've embraced who I am, and God has made me comfortable with who I am, and and that's what I tell. I have younger brothers, and I have two of my sons in ministry that are young men, and I tell them, be free to be you, and all this will come. Don't let people put over you who you're supposed to be, because I spent my life trying to be who everybody else said Jones was supposed to be. And
so what age did you kind of figure that thing out, to say, you know what, this is who I am, let me be that? Unapologetically, right?
Probably somewhere between 33 and 35. It took that long.
30 years in ministry.
Yes, sir.
Before you found out that, hey, let me do this.
Yeah, because whether they were trying to push me or not, I always felt like there was a certain expectation that was expected. And so I tried to live up to everybody's expectation. And finally I said, you know what, I got to be me. I got to live my life. By this time I'm married, children, the Lord blessed. My wife and I have one biological, but I got, oh Lord, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 godchildren.
Okay, what? Thought you
that if no, wait a minute now.
Bro, you've been busy.
No, but
you've been doing more than taking tips.
but if you call them godchildren, they'll fight you. Because I literally been in their life, all of their life. And so I just saw so much wasting away, because I'm trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be. And man, it got real for me. I'm pastoring in Nashville, and at this time my ministry was booming. I'm running all over the country. And the church parsonage, we were standing in the church parsonage, and the church parsonage next door to the church. At about 10 o'clock at night, my son walks over to the parsonage. Walks over from the parsonage to the church. My wife calls me and said, EJ's on his way over. I said, okay, it's 10 o'clock at night. I meet him at the door. He comes in my office and he's just sitting there. And I said, what's up, man? You just come over here to sit? And his exact words to me were, well, I don't get to look at you much, Daddy. I was about that big.
Wow.
I felt about that big. Because I spent so much time trying to be what everybody else thought I should be and not really devoting my time to my family and nurturing my family. And it was at that point that I decided, you know what? I got to be who I am. Wow. And that hadn't gone over easy with a lot of people either.
Oh no, but you know, they'll be okay.
They sure will.
Yeah, it's something my father-in-law used to tell me all the time. Man, listen, folk will be all right.
Yeah,
folk will be all right. So, in finding out who you are now, easy question, man. Who are you?
Man, I'm crazy.
If I'm the fly on the wall who's watching you, how would I describe you?
Fun, energetic, love God, but I'm real and I'm crazy. I mean, I'm crazy. I'm the life of the party, and if you cross me, my family, my children, I'm the one you don't want to see. But I love God, but I've learned to just be this fun, good-hearted guy. I give you the shirt off my back. You know, I give you the keys to my car, as long as I know you're going to bring it back. But I just love having fun. My members know. I love to laugh. I crack jokes. I used to didn't do that, at least not in the pulpit. I would do it away. But, you know, and when I came to Memphis, they really embraced letting me be me. And I'm just an old crazy fun guy, man.
Like, I know you're telling the truth, because I remember the time we came, the first time I met you, that I think it was your youth day, maybe last year or 2 years ago. And I was sitting back there. I had just a regular t-shirt on. Yep. I never introduced myself as pastor. I never just go in people's pulpit. I just sat back there with the rest of our crew. Our guys had to dance.
Sure did. They were awesome too.
But here's the funny thing about it. I was sitting back there, and people don't know. If they don't know me, they think I'm kind of stuck up myself, or I don't joke. He's always serious. They really don't know that I'm about the same. Love to joke. And so I'm sitting back there, and I'm tripping. I'm trying to figure out who the pastor was. You and somebody else sitting here. And I'm like, which one is the pastor? I knew instantly that you were the pastor because one of your young ladies was dancing. And she was dancing, right? And yeah, right? And she was dancing. And it was one of those, oh, bless her heart, right? It was one of them moments, you know what I mean, right? Bless her heart. And you were rolling laughing. I said, that's the pastor right there. I mean, up here now, in front of me, just dying laughing at the baby.
I ain't gonna hide it.
You know what? That's my, but this is what caught me though. I said, that's my kind of dude.
If they do it good,
you can have fun.
Yep.
Right, because I believe God can use your personality, whatever your personality is.
Yeah.
All the gospel writers, right? You get to see that. Anybody who wrote scripture, you can get a sense of their personalities through their writing. So God doesn't extract your personality when He uses you.
Exactly.
He uses all of that.
Every bit of it.
I got the chance before I even met you.
Wow.
I met a dude who seemed to have fun in the moment.
Love it.
And those are the guys that I like to be around because you get a chance to meet a human being.
Yeah. Not
just some, what I call them spiritual robots.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. One of
yeah, just
can't do it.
Right.
Can't do it.
Man, that's good deal, man. I appreciate it. I thank you for your transparency though, because a lot of people struggle in doing that, and I think we share that, and that we're introverts.
Yes.
But we're called to do something that's outside of our comfort zone.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
How have you reconciled being an introvert and having to stand before people? And because this is vulnerable. When you preach, that's a presentation of vulnerability. How have you reconciled being an introvert with that type of vulnerability?
I've been able to do it Because, well, let me say it like this. I learned from David. David didn't mind letting you know that I'm a worshiper. That, matter of fact, I'll probably be the greatest worshiper to ever live, but I've had issues.
Okay.
And I said, if David could be so forthcoming and so honest, and people were drawn to David for his transparency, I came to a point where I had to learn that people are walking off the street into the church. And before they ever see Jesus, they'll see me. And so I learned to open up more. Now, maybe sometimes my wife think I open up too much. Yeah. But I've learned to open up more because I want people to know that there's a real human being inside of me. You know, that I'm not just this, as you just said a few moments ago, robot. I'm a human. I've had flaws. I've made mistakes. I've made some really bad errors. But God forgave me. And he didn't forgive me to not share it. Yeah. And you know, now I tell a very clean version of it. Right. You're not gonna know all of it, but you're gonna know enough of it to know that I'm being very open and very real with you. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So she said too much.
Yeah, because I moved her to the pulpit with me, and so when I get to going too far, I hear her, amen, That's your cue. Yeah, that's my cue. Because normally she's pretty loud in worship, but when it gets low and soft, I know that's my cue. Pull it in, honey. Pull it in.
Right in the back. That's good, man. I see you, your son, every time I've been here, I've seen you put your sons to use. Right?
Yes, sir.
So is that an important piece that you feel as a father, not pastor, but as a father, to integrate your wife helps with the music? Your sons seem to be like hands-on all over the place.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you do intentionally?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I believe that the anointing flows down. And so I want them to share in ministry with me. I haven't always been that way. I tried to isolate my family because I felt that isolation kept them out of harm's way. Okay. But then they were sitting on talent and ability. And so I know that if my family is working with me, when nobody else will, I got my family. And I want my boys to understand that, that ministry takes work. Especially those that are coming up and say God has called them to preach. You're not going to pastor a mega church tomorrow. As a matter of fact, you're going to do real good to get 50 people when you jump out there. And so I want them to know that ministry is more than preaching on Sunday. Ministry is more than being invited to outings and standing before others. But hey, somebody got to be here to make sure the trash is done. Somebody got to be here to make sure things are in place and ready. And so if you don't get nothing else out of ministry, I want you to know ministry is work. Yes. Ministry is work, man. My daddy made me do everything. If he was at the church cleaning the toilets, guess what? I was in the next stall cleaning the toilet. He taught me ministry from the bottom up. And that's what I'm trying to do with my sons. And man, my wife is probably one of the world's best worship leaders. And I couldn't just let her sit and not do, but church folk, I think our generation is just a little different. We've allowed first ladies to be more operational than other generations.
Look, I enjoy every bit of that too.
Yes.
I think part of what it does, it's the perfect model in a sense to your members and to the body of Christ, how a married couple operate all to flow together in ministry.
Yes.
Right? So if God called you to this, that doesn't mean she's called to minister over the pulpit.
Right.
But she's also called to ministry.
Right.
And so how do you teach? You subconsciously teach members how a wife and husband flow.
Right.
How a husband and wife flows, how they share. Because I think one of the things that we've done residual effects of the church that we saw was the distance that it creates in marriages. Mm-hmm. Right? You got the pastor who was always on the go, and the first lady who was surrounded by her entourage, but there was never a mingling.
Right.
And then you had the children who were just, hopefully they were doing the right thing somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
But you never really saw them together unless they were at a head table being celebrated, but that was about it. I love what God is doing now in ministries. When I saw that your wife was a worship leader, I was like, yeah, man, I love that, because you get an opportunity to not only just to flow together, but she's just as involved in what you care about. Yes. You're just as involved in what she cares about. Yes. And your son is just as involved. But so it becomes a family sharing. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. This is who we are, and this is what we do. And that's the greatest thing, man, that you can model to your members.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because, man, listen, growing up, that's all I saw with my mom and daddy. Hey, my mama and daddy, everything together. In church, out of church. And so, and me growing up with in that in-between generation where I saw pastors that intentionally made sure their wives didn't do nothing, you know, and momentarily I got caught up in that, you know. I started to think, well, you know, my mama doing too much, you know, and I went through a period where I had to learn that just because she married you don't mean God meant for her gift to be settled. And when I realized that, oh man, it was like the heavens opened. You know, because right now, my daddy don't travel nowhere without my mama. No, I mean nowhere. We were at a conference a couple weeks ago, and daddy had to leave, and mama stayed. And man, and it was like somebody had torn them apart. My mama was having fits.
Really?
Yeah, having fits. 45 years. I ain't never let him travel by himself. Hey man, I mean, it was, I'm like, Mama, it's gonna be okay. He'll be back tonight. I mean, man, he was gone a good 8 hours.
Really?
Yes, and my mama was literally, because they've done everything in ministry together. And I had to go back and remember how I was brought up in ministry, and form an appreciation for the gift that my wife had, and realize that she was being a help to me. Yeah. And I needed that. Yeah, man. It was, yeah. Ooh, you're getting a lot out of me.
Thanks God for that. I mean, there's nothing like modeling, man. I think. So at the beginning of the year, man, God really had me praying for marriages.
Wow.
So every day I would get up and I would pray for marriages, man. Marriages, people that was in our ministry, guys I knew, I would pray for marriage, ministry, couples that were in ministry together, man. God really had me on that at the top of the year, and I still do, not as heavy as I was, but to see that type of marriage model,
yes,
kingdom marriage,
yes,
model before people. That's an invaluable presentation. Yes. So, man, when I came over and get a chance to see you guys, man, you don't know it. You sit back and like, that's it, dog.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
That's why I chill with you.
Thank you, man.
It's stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Stuff like that. That's just, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I know what I see, and I know what, you know what I mean? Some stuff I see, like, that's it. Some stuff I'm like, nah,
right, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. You can tell when it's forced and fake. Yeah.
And you can tell when you don't want to be involved either.
Yeah, you sure can.
I took tail and run.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
what do you like to do, man, apart from here? When you're not here, when you're not in ministry, when you're not preaching, when you're not traveling and not with daddy, what do you do away from here that would really surprise most people about you?
You know what, Pastor? That's a very interesting question, because I'm so wrapped up in ministry that I'm just now learning what I like to do outside of ministry. Wow. I really am. I have spent my days, as I told you, my whole life is centered around ministry. And so I'm just now getting to the point where I am learning what I like outside of church. For the first time in years, after Easter Sunday morning, my wife and I just picked up and went on vacation. I feel like the church is going to fall apart if I'm gone, man. You know, like, hey, if I'm not there, when I come back, the roof going to be torn off the building or something. So I'm just not learning. But believe it or not, I've gotten caught up in reality shows.
Okay.
The whole lineup of Love and Hip Hop. Man, I'm up all night on Mondays watching Love and Hip Hop. Then they got the new one. What is it? Tanya and Inman or somebody. So
I don't watch any of them.
I'm watching them, and then on Wednesday nights, because I'm in Bible study, I record Black Ink Crew. And so, man, and I'm just excited to see other folk have some drama. Wow. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really get it, because I served 6 years in the military.
Okay.
And so when you get out, you don't just start, you go radically.
Yeah, right.
So you can't have a beard, all that stuff in the army. I came out, first thing I did is I had me a Malcolm X shave out of here. You gotta stay clean shaven, hair can only be so long. I got out and grew me some dreads. I had my hair twisted.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
What?
I wanted my hair. I got sick of white people being able to do this.
Uh-huh.
Like, I want to be able to do that.
So you would do that?
I grew my hair long enough to where if I roll down the window, my hair would flap in the wind, and I could do this.
Wow.
As soon as it got long enough to do that, I was like, oh, I'm good. So
I'm good. I cut it off now.
But you typically go, and so from the preaching perspective, you try to go way away from that. So I get the fixation on shows like that.
I mean, I binge watch them too, man. I just
binge watch,
man. And on VH1 on Monday nights, they come on at 7, 8, 9, and then the same one they come, and then at 10 o'clock the same one that came on at 7 come on again. and I'm sitting there watching it like I just watched it for the first time.
That's your guilty pleasure?
That's my guilty pleasure, man. Reality TV, and I love to eat chicken wings. I can't do it right now. My doctor got me on real strict, real strict diet because of my health. But yeah, but man, reality TV. Oh, and Family Feud.
Now here's why I don't watch Family Feud.
Okay.
I enjoy it. It's a bucket list thing. It's a bucket list goal of mine.
I want to go.
I really want to go to Family Feud, but this is why I don't like to watch it. When Family Feud comes on, they just run show after show after show.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I watch 2 or 3 episodes, it's already like 11 o'clock. I'm like, where'd the time go?
Yep.
So when they come on now, I tell my wife, babe, change that. I want to get most of my time I can. Yep. By the time we sit down, our lives are so on the go that when you get an opportunity to sit down, I want to enjoy it. And man, I turn on Family Feud, and I swear it's 8 episodes to go by that fast.
Because on Game Show Network from 6 to 10,
it just rolls. And I look up and be like, it's already 11 o'clock.
Yep.
The night went away watching Family Feud.
Yep. Exactly.
But it's definitely a bucket. It's a bucket.
I want to go so bad.
I want to go one good time.
But I want to go while Steve Harvey is host.
He might be.
He's gonna be there a while.
He's gonna be there a while, man. That dude got his hands in everything. He's gonna be there a while. I think one of my guilty pleasures is it ain't even bad really. I love grown-ish and black-ish.
Do you?
Yes.
I haven't seen Grownish, but I've watched Blackish.
See, when Grown-ish comes on, the first time I watched it, I was like, whoa, they grown-ish for real. So I had to go in the bedroom and close the door. And it seems like when you go in the room and close the door, the kids really want to come in. Right, so I had to pause it, and I be feeling so guilty, like I got to pause the show that's coming on as the kids walking in. It makes me feel so guilty. But it's so good. It is so good.
Have you started watching The Last OG?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
I think it just premiered last week with
Tracy Morgan and Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah,
I remember when she first came on. It was some show, Who's Got Jokes.
Okay.
Bill Bellamy hosted it years ago.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I remember she showed up and she was killing then.
Yeah.
I was like, man, she gonna be alright.
Yeah.
So it's really good to see her 15 years later doing so well. She about to blow up.
I believe it.
She's about to blow up. Yeah. Outside of those guilty pleasures, man, what else are you learning that you?
Let's see. I tried golf.
Okay.
Didn't work out too well for me.
Okay.
And I'm learning to spend more time with my wife and family.
Okay.
Yeah. It's important to me now, you know, and it should have been important to me then. But I'm just learning to spend more time and doing some of the things that they like to do. Because, you know, my family always gives in to what
you got to do.
What I got to do.
What you got to do.
Yes.
Not necessarily want to do. What you got to do.
Right.
What the calling calls for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning that when there's not a got to moment, you know, to do some things they want to do, they like to do. Now my son is real over the top.
Okay.
You know, he want me to do stuff that I'm physically, you know, not able to do no more. You know, but I think he want me to say, "Well, I beat Dad." You know, you know, and my wife, you know, she likes to sit around and watch them movies that you got to have the caption or you got to read what they say. And I read enough during the day,
right.
You know, but I'm learning to do those things, man, and spend some time with my brothers. You know, we've lost too many, and then only thing we could say is, "Well, I saw you at church last week." You know, man, I just saw him at revival last Friday night, but didn't get a chance to spend real quality time. And so I'm trying to be intentional about getting to know my brothers, man. You know, I'm not the healthiest guy in the world, and I don't want if the Lord saw fit. Lord, this is not a mandate on you, but if the Lord saw fit to call me early, for the only thing my brothers can be able to say is, "We saw him in church last week." You know. But we didn't get a chance to fellowship over
a meal. Or that Negro can preach.
Yeah, man, he sure could do it. You know, he doing it in the ground now, though, you know. So, you know, being able to spend an hour at lunch is a lot to, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying.
So I feel like I'm hearing somebody whose life is slowing down. You learn to be a lot more reflective and introspective.
Yeah, man. I am.
Learn how valuable your time is now.
Yes. Yeah. That's.
And that it doesn't take all of that.
No.
Yeah.
No, I was too busy trying to make a name. You know, and the only thing I made was some mistakes. You know. I thought that my ministry was valued by how many folks knew me. You know, and come to find out that folk don't know you, they just know the sermon you preached that night. And when that sermon is over, they done with you. And so I'm just, like you said, I'm in a season in my life where I'm slowing down. And I want relationships, and I want real friends. I told the pastor a couple weeks ago, I was preaching for him, and we just having a normal conversation, you know, kind of like this, I guess. Yeah. And I said, man, I'm not looking for a favor, I'm looking for a friend. I don't have time for favors, I don't need a favor. I need friends. You know, preachers, people don't understand that about us. You know.
This is a lonely vocation.
It's lonely, man. Do you hear me?
For people who think they really want to get in the ministry, hear him. He's been in it since 5. I've been in it for over 12 years now. For people who really want to jump into ministry, please catch this. This ain't really what you want. This is not really what you want. Ministry is a lonely vocation.
It's lonely.
You don't know who you can truly trust.
Right.
Who loves you for you and not what you can do or the influence that you have.
Right.
who values you more than they value your title. This is a very lonely road.
Yeah.
And because oftentimes pastors spend so much time pastoring their congregation, we don't really get an opportunity to fellowship with like-minded people.
No.
Right? A lot of pastors have the same issues, but we don't know it because we're protective of ourselves. And so I don't want to be vulnerable with you because I want to look like I got it all together.
Got it all together, right.
I want to look like I know what I'm doing. When
right.
There is really no handbook to how to pastor people.
No.
It's not a handbook to how to pastor people. And there's going to be failures because Jesus even had a guy who failed.
That's it.
Couple of
them.
But one had the ultimate failure. So if Jesus lost one, that means we're going to lose quite a few.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And not only is it not a handbook, you never perfect it.
Never perfect it.
Because just when you think you got it, here comes something else.
Here's the curveball.
Right, that you've never seen before.
Yeah. So soon as you find your footing,
yes,
it's something else that trips you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never a place of comfortability.
Never.
And soon as you get comfortable, here comes God saying, okay, let me shake that up.
Yeah. 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 I'm telling you, it happens. It happens all the time. You know, I'm grateful, you know, and I used to count down, oh Lord, made it through that year, you know, made it through that year, made it through year 3. And my first couple churches, it was at the 3rd year mark that all hell broke loose. And so I kept saying, if I can ever make it past the 3rd year,
wow,
I got it made.
Wow.
And so I finally made it to year 4, right? And then year 4 went to year 5, and year 5 went to year 6, and year 6 went to year 7. And then I said, oh man, I got this. I done made it 7 years, one spot. And then the Lord said, okay, since you got it.
Let me see somewhere.
Right. Boom. Man. But this has been this move to Memphis has been the best of my ministry.
Wow. The
best of my ministry. I never imagined coming back here. My daddy was like an appointed pastor here. Well, I've been here going on 3, he's here 25 years ago. And I never imagined that I would be back in Memphis as their pastor. Didn't want to come back.
So your life's kind of had a full circle.
Full circle, yeah. Didn't want to come back. My wife's family is here. I met my wife here when my daddy came to Memphis. We were in the other building over there, and she was ushering, and she came up to lift the offering, and
something else lifted up.
Yeah, and I looked over. I told my dad, I said, "I'm gonna marry that woman."
Wow,
yeah,
man,
and so 22 years later, man, I just never imagined I'd be back here in this place. Never. But it's been the best thing that ever could have happened. I'm happier in ministry. I'm freer than I've ever been. Ever been. Yeah. I just want I just want some real brothers around me now. You know. Yeah. And that's hard to find in Memphis, you know it.
Yes, I do know it.
Man, these guys closed up on us, man. I don't know what they think. I just want to be your friend. I ain't trying to take your ministry and your people. You know.
Yes, I know it.
I just want to be your friend.
Yes, I know. And you often find that truth the hard way.
Yes. Yeah.
But the challenge is to not allow that to make you cynical.
Right. Right. And that's a real challenge, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real challenge.
Well, it doesn't change the heart.
Right.
It may make you wiser, but stronger even. But the challenge is to not allow it to affect your heart.
Right.
To affect the authenticity of a person.
Yeah.
And certainly doesn't change you to become cynical, where you see everybody as a potential snake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, But God sent me you, man. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. And believe it or not, though, let me tell you, I thought you were Barlow's brother at first.
Okay.
I don't know how I put two. I knew y'all were connected in some way, and so I said that's Quinn's brother, and nobody told me that. I just drew that conclusion myself. But yeah, so so I'm grateful, and I'm I truly am.
That's confident. Let's tell. So, what would you say to? Because I want you to tell them. What would you say to a young man or a young woman who is looking at you, who's got an opportunity to kind of hear your story? What would you tell them about aligning themselves with this ministry under your leadership? What would they get from this, and how would it impact and bless their life?
We're a real church, and this is a real ministry that truly has a heart for people, a heart for God, and you'll have a pastor that's not just a man, but a lover of people, and a nurturer of people. I don't place myself way up here. I come right where you are, because I can't help you if I can't come to where you are. The Church of the Living God, Timber 71, the high place, is the church of ordinary people serving an extraordinary God. And I promise you, you come to here, you'll be blessed. I promise you that.
Last thing, Pastor, how can they reach you? Social media handles, man. Give me a handle so they can hit you up. Social media handles, man. What hours of worship, Bible, all those places where they can connect with you.
We're on Instagram, the Church of the Living God, number 71 on Instagram, Church of the Living God, hashtag 71 on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Overseer EJ3 on Instagram, and Overseer Elbert Jones on Facebook. And then we have our website, is www.cotlg71.org. And on the website, you can download our Sunday worship services. Sunday schools at 10 a.m. on Sunday, morning worship at 11:15, and Bible study and youth meeting on Wednesday nights at 6:30. And I promise you, again, you will enjoy the 71 experience.
Appreciate man of God.
Man, thank you.
Thank you for your time, your transparency, man.
Man, thank you for thinking so much of this little fella. Spend a little time with me.
I like it.
Man, you all right with me, man.
You all right with me.